Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us a bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show. Red River sponsors, it's time to start. Enjoy the show. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show. Red River sponsors, it's time to start. Enjoy the show.
All right, here we go. Betting Weekly Live here with you on a Tuesday, a St. Patrick's Day Tuesday for us here. Mike Carver along with Doug Kezirian, getting you ready for all of tonight's action. We've got NBA, we've got NHL, college basketball postseason begins tonight as well with some NIT games. We've got the first four in Dayton. Chris Macero is going to join us in a couple of minutes. A very, very busy show today. Hi, Doug. How are you?
Quite the festive outfit. Did you just come from Augusta?
Oh, I wish. Yes, I always got it. Listen, this is my day. You know, my mom's side of the family, born and raised in Dublin. So, I mean, this is our day, Doug. I've got to let the colors shine on March 17th every single year.
It's good. It's one of those come for the analysis, stay for the jacket to our audience.
And as I always like to say, I tell my wife, when are you ever going to wear that thing? I said, I will find ways to wear. I've had this like 10 plus years. I will find ways to wear this jacket. And
there are many things that one would think I couldn't wear, and I actually wear way too often. So good job. I have a white blazer that I would put in that category.
I try, Doug. I do what I can. Let's get right into it because we have so much to do. And the NCAA tournament does start tonight in Dayton with
Does it, or is it still Thursday? I mean, I think it's an age-old question now.
Well,
first four.
You know, I mean, I guess if you asked people who went to Howard and UMBC tonight, right, and to all the, I mean, they would say that the NCAA tournaments, I think Miami of Ohio is going to make you feel like it starts tomorrow night as well. But why don't we bring in our man, Chris Macero, pro bettor, of course. He was with us throughout the college football and the NFL playoffs. And now with March Madness here, Doug, we have got to get Chris back in the mix. Good to see Chris Macero, as always. Chris, good to see you, my man. How are you? And I'm ready, Chris, because I know I want to hear the big tickets. What have we had stashed away for a while here? Let's go.
Well, we got some good stuff. Another thing you could use that jacket for, if you ever become a wrestling manager, I would think that would be a great accessory. Or the Riddler. You kind of look like the Riddler. It's I mean, there's multiple sources of wearing for that. You know, you can just start wearing it all the time. It's great. I like it. Looks like also it could be also double as a shower curtain, possibly.
It could possibly double as that, Chris. You were absolutely right. Before we get to your picks here, because you got a couple good ones, I'm with you on a bunch. Let's talk big picture here for a moment. You saw the bracket. Give me a little bit. Who are you looking for the most? What do you got the biggest future on? Big picture of the NCAA tournament for you.
Well, you mentioned my futures, and I'm very fortunate to, I like to do this stuff early. I like to try to find value as soon as I can. If I see a team where the schedule is going to either loosen up, or if they win a particular game, their odds are going to drop from this number to that number. And what I did is I caught Florida at the perfect time. It was right before they played Vanderbilt the first time. It was a tight game, and I'm a little worried about the bracket because they might have to play Vanderbilt again. But I have Florida at 28, 29 to 1. I have them in a couple different future parlays where I got them up to 43 to 1. So overall, my tickets on Florida are around 40 to 1, which I'm very excited about. I also have a huge ticket. They have the first 2 legs already in, where Florida just needs to make the Final Four. I have that at plus 500 with the Detroit Pistons to make the finals. Pistons have been, a little bit slacking lately, but hopefully they can pull it together. Should still have the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference come playoff time. That's a doozy. That one is almost 100. I think it's about 85 to 1 I have on that. So those are the two. The Florida is my biggest team. I also have Arizona and a bunch of stuff. So I'm sitting pretty, but I'm still nervous. And, you got to look around the bracket. What are the teams that could potentially knock Florida off? And maybe it's a Vanderbilt, in the Arizona bracket. You might have to play. You got Arkansas. You have Wisconsin, 2 high-powered teams. If the balls are falling, the threes are falling, A-Cuff's on fire, or Boyd's on fire, or Blackwell's on fire for Wisconsin, maybe Arizona gets knocked out. So you kind of gotta hedge a little bit, maybe play some of those teams to make the Final Four, just to kind of offset the fact that Arizona is such a big favorite. You can even look at the no on Arizona and you get plus money. It's crazy that they're not going to make the Final Four, but Arizona and Florida are my 2 best options, and I'm hoping they can both make a deep run.
Yeah, they absolutely could. Anything is possible here, Chris. Let's get into your games now. We'll start on Friday. UConn and Furman. And you would like to think, Chris, going into this, that maybe UConn's going to be a little upset after getting whacked by St. John's in the Big East Championship game. Furman, of course, has a 15 seed. I think actually a pretty good 15 seeds, but we got a lot of huge spreads with these 15s, Chris.
Yeah, that is the one concern, the fact that UConn did just get dismantled by St. John's in the Big East Championship game. They lost by 20 points. They shot it terrible, only 18% from 3. But the problem is, too, for UConn is they shot it terrible the game before against a lousy Georgetown team. They're only 32% from 3. So they're just not the same offensive team that they were last year. They got some good bigs, Caravan, and obviously Hurley's one of the best coaches in the country. But the offense has really struggled this year. It just hasn't been up to par for UConn standards. And I just can't lay 21 points with UConn. I played at 21. I see 20.5 on the board now. Furman is a well-coached team. Bob Ritchie, 9th season there. This guy's 203 and 92, 68.8% winning percentage. Really, really knows how to win. You got to remember, 2023, this Furman Paladins team, as a 13 seed, came in and knocked off Virginia, who was on a 4 seed at that time. They eventually fell to the national runner-up San Diego State that year. Furman had 3 nice games in the Southern Conference tournament. They kind of play a slow pace, 263rd in the country. So they're probably going to try to muck it up a little bit. They're very efficient from the 2-point range. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a slower paced game. Try to get some easy buckets. They're not a big 3-point shooting team. Try to play some decent D against a UConn team that struggled offensively. I think 21 points, 20.5 points is good to take with Furman, well-coached, fundamentally sound team. The way UConn struggled, I'm taking the points of this game all day.
Chris, you definitely broke down the profile of the Huskies. Now, they have monster wins from earlier in the year, and that's why they're a 2 seed. It's not just how they performed in the Big East, but those 2 losses recently, Creighton and another one as a big favorite, really has me concerned about this UConn team. Hurley's covered 14 straight tournament games, so this is when he can flip the switch, so to speak. And you and I have a mutual friend. I told he's banking on Hurley again to make another run. I have an issue with those 2 recent losses as big favorites to Marquette, and then also Creighton at home as a 17.5-point favorite. What element, I guess, of concern do you have that, Hurley, that there is a world where he gets these guys to flip the switch and cover this kind of a number just because he's done so well in the big dance?
Well, they can give a better effort. There's no doubt about that. But when it comes down to it for me is they just don't have the shooting this year. They don't have that go-to guy, the Kemba Walker. They just, Solo Ball just hasn't been that guy. They just don't have the same shooting, the consistent 3-point shooting, or the guy that can just get you the bucket when they need to. That's Caravan, but he's a big, so it's a little different. I know Hurley's great. I'm sure they'll be coached up well, but they're not going up against a team that's not well coached. So I just think 21 is a little bit too much. for them to lay, especially the way they've been shooting it lately. And it's not just, one game or two games. It's been consistently not shooting it well for like the last month of the season. They had that great defensive game when they really shut down St. John's earlier, limiting the Johnnies to only 40 points. But besides that effort, there's been some stinkers, like you said, Marquette and Creighton, and even the Georgetown game where they only put up 67 points against a lousy Georgetown team, only putting up 52 on Saturday night versus St. John's. I'm just not willing to lay it. And I thought this Furman team, well coached, grabbing that many points, a team that's going to play slow, I thought it was pretty good value.
Chris, sometimes these 8-9 games in the NCAA tournament are obviously, with the seeds being the closest, they're the tightest matchups, and sometimes that can get you into a little bit of a rock fight. Iowa and Clemson, one of those 8-9 matchups coming up on Friday.
I mean, rock fight is the word I had written down in my notes for this game. It's just one of those eye test games. You've watched them all year long. They played in the 60s, sometimes in the 50s. There's been, I think, Iowa and Nebraska played a 57, 52 type of game. Clemson goes on these ruts of not score. I mean, just look at the other night. They had a 15-point lead against North Carolina, and they couldn't cover a 1.5-point spread. They end up winning the game by 1 just because they just go in this drought where they can't score. Both of these teams play super slow. 333rd in pace for Clemson, 357 for Iowa. Both play great defense. And both of these teams, they defend deep into the shot clock. 359 for Clemson, 305 for Iowa. So not only do they play good defense, they make you hold the ball for a long possession. It's just a recipe for a very low total. I'm going to be looking for the first half under as soon as those pop too. I know it's 129.5. It's one of those games where I've recommended this game during the week. It's one of those games where maybe you just don't even watch it. You just check the score at halftime, and hopefully it's like 25-23, and you're on your way. But it's going to be ugly. Both of these teams go to big-time scoring droughts. Neither one of them shoot the three that good, so it's not something you're going to have to worry about that one of them is going to get really hot from three. I just think it's, like you said, an ugly rock fight. I played the under. It was actually my first bet of the week.
Chris, you mentioned the first half once it gets posted. I guess my question for you is, everyone has their own sort of narratives with their own betting styles and trends. Like, there's that age-old thing like, hey, the loser of this game is out the door for the rest of this. They're done for the season. So they're going to foul even down 10 with 30 seconds ago, whereas in the regular season, they maybe wouldn't foul in that situation. But it could also be a 1-point game with 35 seconds ago. No one's fouling. The books adjust for this, but how much do you sort of think like that? And maybe, like you said, first half is better than the game for that reason. Again, but it's a smaller sample size. So a couple back-to-back threes does skew the number much more in the first half than it does the game line. What's sort of your thought process when it comes to the unders in the tournament?
Well, yeah, I mean, another thing you got to look at too is some of the tip times or where the game's being played or the travel. But obviously, there's going to be less fouling in the first half. That's why the total is a lot more skewed. The total on this game, it might be even in the 61 or 62 or who knows. But this is a normal tip time, 6:50 p.m. Friday, so it's not one of those earlier tip times like some of these other games. It's a lot of the hot team was Arkansas, right? Well, what do they do to Arkansas? Not only did they give them a 4 seed, they shipped them to Oregon to play in probably an empty gym where they're not going to have any fans. You figure Hawaii's not going to have many fans. So that might be one where, hey, they just went from Nashville, completely packed, sold out arena with a great vibe, playing in the SEC championship game. And now they're going to an empty arena. So that might be one, hey, let's look at the first half under. They're in a dead gym, not many fans, terrible travel. Maybe they get off to a slow start. But in this particular game, being at a regular time slot, travel's not a major issue for either one of these two teams. And it's one of those games where you just say, hey, it could be close. It's a small spread. I don't want to deal with the fouling in the second half. Let me just take the under first half. Hopefully we get off to a slow start. Both teams, a little bit cautious. Don't want to turn it over early, walking it up the court with these slow paces. And maybe you just get a nice, easy under 61.5 first half, and you're happy.
Chris, a lot of people are starting to get on the UCLA train a little bit. I'm kind of one of them. After Dent looked like last week, the player that UCLA thought they were getting, I jumped on board. I'm a little nervous about them heading east because of how much Mick Cronin belly aches about getting on a plane and going east of the Mississippi. they got a pretty tough matchup with UCF on Friday night. That's a team in the Big 12 that doesn't get talked about a lot.
Yeah, sometimes you forget they're in the Big 12, the conference of realignment. The football team was always good. The basketball team, not so much. But, yeah, they're not a bad team. They went 9-9 in league play, the gauntlet of the Big 12, big wins over Kansas, Texas Tech, BYU. But my thing is more of a fate of UCLA. I laughed out loud when I saw, sometimes you see the pod, it's the West, and, you're in the East bracket, but you still play in the West, and then you ship over for the Sweet 16. But nope, sure enough, they're in Philadelphia after going to, they're in LA, they fly to Chicago, then they're back to LA. Now they're going to fly all the way to Philadelphia. And Mick's not happy about it, but, probably wasn't happy with his 7 seed either. But I just feel like it's one of those ones when this UCLA team has to go east, it's just not the same team. I know they played fairly well in the tournament. Bilodeau got injured. They say he's probable, but you never know if he's 100% or not. They could just say that to get the better seeding, hope for a better seed. But you don't like having one of your best players, a guy they run the offense through, with an injury. So I just feel like 6 points is a lot, especially West Coast team going east. I will take the Knights plus the 6 points.
How do you attack these first 4 games we've got tonight and tomorrow night? Do you consider them part of the tournament? Do you look at them differently being in Dayton? You've got one of these games on your card here. What do you think of the first 4?
I don't like the times where they put 2 teams that tried all year to get in the tournament. They win the conference tournament, and then they're not really in. If you're going to put like an SEC team that's like the last team in, and they're going to play a Big Ten team that's the second to last team in, I'm all for that. Sort of like this situation. Miami of Ohio, great story all year. I feel bad for them that they lost right away because they're kind of not in the tournament. But I played this game yesterday, plus 7.5. I know we're down to 6.5 now. But I think there's a lot of things that kind of trend in Miami's favor. They got the loss out of the way. They can take a collective exhale. They say, hey, you know what? We got in the tournament. We were super nervous. And you could watch those last couple of weeks when they had the undefeated season. They were tight. They were missing easy layups. They were just sweating it out. They just knew the whole world was on. Tension was on them. They weren't expecting that this year. And then you get an SMU team that's limping in. Lost 7 of the last 9. I know BJ Edwards is supposedly back. The team tweeted it out that he was going to be back to let the committee know that they should make the tournament. I guess this was the last team in. I don't think they deserve to be in the tournament. I much would rather have seen Oklahoma, who was playing great down the stretch. They had won 6 or 7, played great in the the SEC tournament. Now we got to watch an SMU team that's just been not really a good team. And one factor that really got my attention is we're only an hour away from Miami's campus. So you figure this has been the Cinderella story of the year. They're in their own home state. You're going to have a lot of fan support. And you figure who the heck's going to be rooting for SMU at Dayton, Ohio? Probably nobody. So you got a home court advantage. You're getting points. You got the monkey off your back a little bit. You're in the tournament. You're not sweating out the perfect season anymore. I think they're going to play free and loose. And this is a team that can put up some big points. We've seen them score 100 points a couple times this year, games in the 80s, games in the 90s. So I just think, 6.5, 7 points. I'll take that with a good home court advantage. SMU team that's been limping in. And I'm not so sure how healthy Edwards is going to be. Even his last 6 games when he did play, only had a total of 49 points. So he hasn't been up to his regular self at the beginning of the year. So give me the points with the good story. Let me take Miami of Ohio.
Let's also factor in, like you said, SMU stinks. Like let's just put that out there. I mean, that's just that is also a reason. Yes, we're going to root for the great story, and the good thing is SMU stinks. So we also have that we can factor in. I will finish with the NIT pick, Chris. Let's wrap up the tournament with your final 4 picks. And I'm sure we got to let the futures do the talking a little bit here, Chris.
So you want the NIT pick or you want the final 4?
We'll save that last. We'll go out the door with the NIT pick.
Okay, so my final 4 picks, I'm my 2 favorites because I have them. It's a little bit biased, but I really like to draw for Florida. I'm just a little nervous about the Vandy game, but I think they're playing a little cat and mouse in the SEC tournament. Didn't want to play the final game. Kind of laid an egg against Vandy. Vandy played well. Vandy did play them well the original time too, so that makes me nervous, but I think Florida gets through. Arizona has I think the easiest draw. They're healthy. When they've been healthy, they're undefeated. They had the 2 losses back-to-back in the same week. I just think Arizona is going to get there. In the East, you have the blue blood bracket of death with 5 of the best coaches in the country. You got Bill Self, you got Mick Cronin, you got Hurley, you got Izzo, you got Patino, and then you have Duke. So I think it's going to be tough for Duke with the injuries. I'm going to go in the bottom half of the bracket. I'm going to go with Izzo. I think I made a couple of bets already on this. I bet them at 8-1 to make the Final Four, and I bet them at -140 to make the Sweet 16. I think their path is manageable, and I love Izzo, and I feel like they're going to beat North Dakota State. And I love the quick turnaround. You need a really good coach like a Patino and Izzo that can break down the matchups in one night with their coaching staff. Other teams aren't as prepared. So I like Michigan State to make the run, a deep run, hopefully get to the Final Four. And then my other team, I'm going to go against Michigan because Michigan just can't seem to not turn the ball over. Their guard play has been suspect. Kayson's injury is a big blow to them. We saw what happened when Cadeau got in foul trouble the other day. They're just not the same team. They can't run the offense. And when he's in there, he's turning the ball over a lot. And who turns you over more than anyone in the country? The Iowa State Cyclones, bottom of the bracket. So I like Iowa State to make the Final Four as well. Those are my 4 teams: Florida, Arizona, Michigan State, Iowa State. I think Florida is going to play Arizona in the finals. I don't know who's going to win. If I can get that finals, that'd be perfect for me. But we'll see. That would be an awesome matchup. That's what I'd like to see as well.
Chris, as you know, we saw Chalk reach the Final Four last year, all the 1 seeds. We only had one double-digit team reach the Sweet 16, and that was Arkansas. So not exactly a Cinderella, and they were a 10 seed. And then in the Elite 8, we had all 1s, obviously, and then all 2s except for a 3. So there's speculation that NIL and all this has changed everything, and the Cinderella is dead. But it's really only 1 year of that. When you fill out your bracket and stuff, how much have you sort of changed? Like, I think this year, obviously the 5-12s, the 13-4s, like the point spreads are higher than they've ever been. So how much are you sort of embracing that this is a new age of the bracket?
Oh, it's totally. You have to look at it differently. I'm in a pool that I filled out today. You have to pick one number one, one number 2, and so on and so forth. You can't use another. If you pick Florida, you can't use Arizona. But then after you get by the third pick, like Michigan State, I'm looking at the 4 seeds. Who do you even want to take to go far? I mean, Kansas. I mean, we know the situation with Kansas all year, and we heard the stats. If Bill Self's not a number 1 seed, he just goes out early. Then you got Alabama. You got the kid getting arrested for the pound of weed in his house. The other 4 seeds, Arkansas, hey, high and mighty, but like I said, they shipped them out to Oregon, and they probably have to play Arizona. So who's really going to go far? The other one is Nebraska, team that's been leaking oil, 6-6 their last 12 games after starting out 20-0. So I mean, after the top 3, it's really hard to find somebody. It used to always be easy to find a team that would make that long run, or 11 seed, or like you said, a double digit with Arkansas last year. But it's hard to find them this year. I don't know. Do you guys like anyone that's a double-digit seed to make a deep run?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it yesterday. Bet Rivers has a prop where you can bet on a team from Florida to win it all. You get plus 550 instead of 650, but you get Miami and you also get USF. And I think there's some of these teams. I mean, look, in years past, they fit the profile, some of these teams, like Missouri. So it's kind of like Arkansas last year. It's a little bit of a cop-out. You get a power team, and they're a 10. But in terms of I don't think we're going to get the Dunk City USA or the George Masons of the world. I do think the mystique and the magic of the big dance is probably gone. Will one sneak through? Yeah, I mean, that has to happen, of course. But I do worry that we're not going to get a McNeese all the way to the Sweet 16, even though they won 1 game last year. But I worry about that. But yeah, there's some of these big faves are ripe. Obviously, we're looking at dogs plus points, but to get to the Elite 8, I don't know if we can get a Cinderella.
Well, the reason that is because these teams, they don't have the guys that stuck together for 4 years, and they're a senior laden team that's been with the same coach, the same point guard. They're running plays in their sleep with blindfolds on. They know exactly where they're going to be, the cutting, the 3-point spacing, the defensive assignments. That just doesn't happen anymore, because if there's a good guy on George Mason, he's getting picked up and he's going to play at Virginia the next year, or he's going to be at NC State or North Carolina. The continuity of a team to be that strong from a lower seeded conference or just a total underdog is just not going to be there anymore. And it's too bad. And it's another problem with the way the committee is seeding some of these teams. They're putting way too much emphasis on the beginning of the season rather than the end of the season, because all these teams have so much turnover year after year that there's no continuity till probably mid-February or end of January at the earliest. You look at St. John's, they just started to come together defensively now. They were terrible defensively at the beginning of the year. Some of these teams they're just not healthy, or they just haven't been able to, to get the freshman guards to, look at Florida. Florida had big trouble with Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland at the beginning of the year. That is not a problem anymore. They just have to, it takes time in the process, a few months into the season. So they gotta work on changing the metric up. I know they took out the last 10 metric, which is, I don't understand that. And that's probably why SMU is in over Oklahoma. You get a team loses 7 out of the last 9 games versus a team that just won 6 out of the last 7. Kind of crazy to me.
Just going back to double-digit seeds, Chris, I am trying to talk myself into Akron versus Hofstra in the round of 32. Double-digit seeds against each other.
That used to always happen. If you remember.
Trying to talk myself into it.
Yeah, no, but if
I
you
know
correctly. It always would be the upset would happen in the same bracket, and you'd end up with like the third.
I got my eye on it.
This is part of the problem. It changes everything. So you pick Michigan State. Well, sometimes if you pick one of those middle seeds to make a run, like sometimes the bracket breaks so favorably, and they're like a favorite in the Elite Eight because they catch some bad Cinderella team in St. Peter's, and you get them as a big favorite. But now you're going to literally have to just beat every good team in the region because chalk usually is going to hold. So that's also part of when you get these regional futures and things like that. The rollover parlay almost makes the most sense, because I wish I had a time machine. Obviously, go 5 years from now. Like, is it really just a 1-off or a 2-off? But you're right, Boyd. It was on FAU at the Final Four, and now he's on Wisconsin, and he's not sitting there. I even remember, in college when Bryce Drew hit the shot right against Oklahoma. My buddy had picked them to just win the first round because they were a senior team and they can run those plays in their sleep. And of course, they had the half-court pass and the one touch to Bryce Drew. But like that does play a role. Like you get some of these Ivy teams and things like that. Now it's Penn has a guy who played at Duke in Virginia, and that's what you're handicapping for a double-digit seed. The transfer the other way.
The Penn angle is a good angle because you have Fran McCaffrey, who neither one of us really like, but they're going up against a Big Ten team, which he knows very well. He was just coaching at Iowa last year. Maybe they get a little different style, and I don't think Brad Underwood's the greatest coach, or maybe that's where it is. Maybe it's Penn versus VCU in the second round.
I never trust Underwood, Chris. I never trust.
I agree with you.
Underwood. All right, Chris, out the door. Give me an NIT for tonight before you go.
Oh, listen. So I was big on this team last week in the Mountain West tournament. It was a roller coaster game, to say the least. I try not to watch the first 10 minutes of these games because I get too emotionally involved, and I don't want to be too upset. So I like to check the score after 10 minutes, and I'll check the stats, and I'll just say, okay, they're going to make a comeback. So when I checked the stats of the Wyoming UNLV game last week, Wyoming was 0 for 13 from 3. And naturally, they were down by 16 points. So I was pretty bummed out. But Wyoming, to their credit, they made a great comeback. They throw 4 guards at you. And the problem with that they had with UNLV was just long and athletic, and they had 12 blocks against Wyoming. So even though they made a big comeback, they took the lead by 3. They ended up blowing it down the stretch. UNLV won 73-70. But I like Wyoming against Wichita State. I played it plus 6.5. I know we're down to 5.5. I still like it. I think Wyoming has a chance to win this game outright. Wichita State is one of the shorter teams in the country. So I think Wyoming's going to have an easier time getting to the hoop with their guard play. I know they don't shoot the 3 very well. It's only 33%, but they got to have a little bit better positive regression. They only had 3 out of 21 threes the other day against UNLV. So a little bit of positive regression for Wyoming, a lot more going to the hoop against a smaller Wichita State team. And I think Wyoming plus the points is the way to go tonight.
Chris, and there's a world where the Mountain West is actually pretty good, right? They have all that parity and teams losing to. What if they're all pretty good? You never know.
I don't think so.
Then again, Wyoming is the only team in the year of our Lord 2026 that trailed Air Force inside of 5 minutes to go. So the last 2.5 months.
By the 2 minutes.
Yeah, instead they did trail the Air Force Falcons.
You're going to find out how good the Mountain West is Friday night when Utah State takes apart Villanova. That's when you're going to find out how good the Mountain West is. Chris, I love the passion. You single-handedly brought me in on Georgia Live in the second half last week, your tweets. As I was watching you talk that through, and thankfully I got 5.5 at the time when you were. That was a good one. I went and had as I put that in, I left Circa and I went and had a pizza at one of my favorite pizza places. So I'm in there having it by myself, and the place is packed. Sorry, I'm telling the story, and I'm watching the game on my phone, and there was a moment when I thought I was in this restaurant by myself. Meanwhile, there's like 100 people in there, and I smashed the plate so loud that the whole place is staring at me. I'm like, "Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Georgia's gonna cover. Don't worry, it's fine."
Champ week.
Chris,
that was a good one. That was a good one.
Tremendous job as always. We will see you again soon. Thank you, Chris.
All right, take care, guys. Tully Moore due to you.
Pro Bettor with us here on Betting Weekly Live, getting ready for the NCAA tournament. Okay, Doug, let's roll here. First for tonight in Dayton. We'll do the heavy game first.
I'm fired up, man. That got me just ready to fire on some hoops tonight. Yesterday, the day off.
I'm ready. Let's go. And you know what? I'm interested to hear you because I don't know if I could do it. I don't know what to do with this game. NC State -1.5, 157.5. Both of these teams obviously super uninspiring. That's why they're in this game. What are we doing? You got two decent coaches, Wade and Miller. I mean, what do we do here tonight?
Yeah, I left it blank in the Google Doc for a reason. I got nothing. But I will look. SEC has 10 teams in the tournament. Okay, they could have had maybe more if Texas got their act together, but they lost to Oklahoma in that rivalry game at home, I believe, if I remember correctly. But OU has obviously flipped the switch. I think you fade NC State. I don't think Will Wade's that good of a coach. I don't think the conference was that impressive. I think you have to kind of bet on the battle-tested teams. Obviously, with the NIT, with all this stuff, you play it by ear. But yeah, I think this is a really good matchup. I think you just have to go with the better coach. I think it's Miller, and we'll have obviously the 16 seeds go first, and then we get these guys. I just think Texas is going to be more battle-tested. I really do. But this NC State team, the upside's there. They're pretty good, but they're just both teams are inconsistent. That's why they're double digits. But I'd side with Texas if I had to play it.
And we had the stats up there, almost every single thing was equal, with each other. These two teams are probably as evenly matched as you get. This might be a good live play tonight. Somebody gets up early, you go on the other side, try to go back and forth that way. The early game is the 16s, as you mentioned. Howard taking on the Terriers, UMBC. This game is now a pick'em at Bet Rivers. 142.5 is the total. I like this UMBC team. Maybe it's because I saw them a little bit more, Doug, than Howard this year. But and typically NEC doesn't do awful in the America East. I should say doesn't do awful in these spots. So I kind of leading towards them.
Yeah, I mean, we've had both these teams kind of discussed on the show, right? Bison played Yale, and then UMBC last week when they were laying a short number against a team they blew out in the regular season twice, and they blew them out again. I think the Retrievers are more reliable. I love that it's pick'em. Those are the type of games you kind of want to watch, and I personally won't bet this game, right? I just don't see a need to bet it. I've passed that point in my betting life where I don't just need action. I'm excited to watch. Maybe I'll have a second half bet. That's the other thing is, I'm all for people who want to just bet to get some action, a small amount, just to kind of whatever. It's like having a beer, watching a game. But the one thing is that I think it skews you how you watch a game. And I don't want to go into a game with a hunch or whatnot. I want to just, because this is a blank slate. A lot of these teams, these odds makers, the market doesn't really have a clue how these teams match up, right? It's all power rating driven. So one team could just have a huge size advantage, or speed can jump off the screen, 3-point shooting. Also, teams have had 20-point leads and blown it, right? We've seen 16 seeds come all the way back. So to your point about live betting, so I'm going in this with a blank slate. But if I had to do it, pick them in a bracket, not that you do, but if I had to, I would take the UMBC.
A little Terrier action there tonight in the first four. I lean towards them as well this evening. The NIT does start tonight too. 8 games in the NIT. The two small Baltimore, Washington schools that actually got there. That's right. Tonight, MT, you must be Cinderella. NIT for us. There's 8 games. Why don't we start with the one we both like, the same team? UNC Wilmington is visiting Yale tonight. Yale minus 4.5. 146.5 is the total at Bet Rivers for that one.
Okay, so should I get on a couch and lay down, and because we're playing amateur psychologist here?
Sure.
I mean, look, this is really tough, and I do have some sort of theories with how to approach this. I think the closer the team was to a loss that derailed their hopes of a big dance, I think the more of a hangover there is, right? We've all taken a couple days. So Yale just had their heart broken Sunday. Their coach also with inexcusable decision-making. So here we are on a Tuesday. See, I think I'm looking to fade Yale. Also, they're limited. I mean, they shoot the lights out, but they're also limited to a big team. I think you have to take the points with just how demoralized Yale is. I think they set the bar the last couple years, going to the big dance, obviously beat Auburn. This is a different animal. I think there's professionalism with Townsend, the Ivy League player there. He's the big man. Mullen, their sharpshooter. They have some other guys. Like, in a vacuum, they're the better team and probably cover. But this Yale team's been off. They should have run the table after losing to Harvard. They didn't. They lost to Penn or Cornell, I forget. And then obviously Sunday, they had to go to overtime against Howard. Like, there's something off. And frankly, I don't think they're well coached. So I have to grab the points, especially because that loss on Sunday is so fresh.
Look at that. We have odds to win the NIT up there. Where are the Anteaters? I guess they're more than 50-1. Where's Irvine here? Come on.
I take a shot with the Running Rebels. See, that's a team that they lost on like Friday or whenever they lost, Thursday. So I think they're ready. I think they're looking at this as like a second season. I think they're excited for this.
They got to get through the Anteaters tonight. That's not easy to go into that.
Bring it.
Building in the Big West and take them on.
Let's go all in on the Mountain West this postseason.
Mountain West I was actually upset when I saw UNLV was playing Irvine in it, because I do want to back UNLV in this. I did see a question at the bottom about Auburn. They do play, I guess it's later tonight.
Yeah.
They're not even favorites to win the NIT, and I get that's probably guys are going to jump off the boat and go into the portal or whatever's going to happen there with them. But they do open against South Alabama. 16.5.
So they lost on Saturday or Friday. Yeah, I think their heads are probably in the right place, but game planning and preparing, it's just a different animal. Now, they're obviously battle tested and have some talent. And if I'm Steve Pearl, obviously he's going to be focused. He's not checked out. Obviously he's a first-year coach, and losing as a big favorite would knock over. Well, I would lean to the dog. I don't know a ton about South Alabama, but there's no way I would lay it. I don't think they care about a blowout. I really don't think they care.
The other late night game I like too, which is St. Thomas on the road at Seattle. St. Thomas is a good team
It's a good basketball team.
They are a good team, and Seattle isn't that great in the WCC this year. I think this is a spot where it's just no one knows who St. Thomas is. Nobody probably watched St. Thomas this year. It's Seattle. I'm taking St. Thomas obviously to win, Doug. It's 1.5. I mean, it's basically almost a pick 'em.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That's the only side I would play. I didn't catch a lot of the Seattle team, so it's a little. Yeah, I think I believe in St. Thomas. I'm with you. I think you have to take dogs in this tournament, the first round, because you just don't know who wants to be there.
Could be on the best bet board tonight. That's how much I like St. Thomas this evening for it. I gotta make a little comeback after the Stars puck line got smashed by Utah last night. Nice effort by Casey DeSmith in goal last night for them. As far as I promise you, Doug, tomorrow we're going to do some of the women's futures.
Okay.
I promise that tomorrow we're going to get them in. I don't have time for them
at
today.
UConn. We just did it. We just did the futures discussion.
DeFar's put a couple units on slamming South Bama at plus 17.5. Well, there you go. St. Thomas first half, Daryl says. Okay, I'm going game for St. Thomas. I think that they're going to win tonight in Seattle. Of course, if you like what you see here on Betting Weekly Live, make sure that you check out the Betting Weekly Studios channel and you subscribe to that. You could see us and all of our other shows, including released earlier today, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. Nigel Seeley and Sean Calvert preview the ATP Miami Open, including a look at 4 of Wednesday's round of 128 matches. Betting Weekly Game Bet Match on the Betting Weekly Studios channel. Speaking of the ATP Miami Open, the Sunshine Double Profit Boost. That's right. The second half of the Sunshine Double, the Miami Open, is underway, and you can enhance your best bet with a generous profit boost from BetRivers. Enter the code BW316 in your BetRivers app, and you'll receive a 100% profit boost to use on any Miami Open bet up to $25. That code again, BW316. Offer ends on March 29th. Must be 21. Eligible players only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, NBA, Doug. 8 games for us this evening in the association. We will start, of course, with the TV, which is NBC and Peacock tonight. Cavs and Bucks just after 8 o'clock East. Cavs minus 10.5, 226.5.
Oh, we need Macero here to fade the Bucks. This is interesting because the Bucks won their last game. I actually laid the points with them against Indy, but Giannis is questionable here. I don't really know what's going on. This Bucks team has sort of postseason aspirations, but I think the Cavs off a loss, like both these teams are just going to light it up. I think this total's too low. Bucks can shoot the heck out of the ball. Cavs can shoot the heck out of the ball with Strus back. I mean, Strus is really interesting because he played great in the last game, and the Bucks don't play a lick of defense. So that's something that has caught my eye. Maybe if you get some props added with Strus once we get the full kind of injury and all the status of everyone, we can sneak that one in. But I think we're going to just bombs away by both teams. I think this is an over.
Up, and away.
And I think the Cavs probably cover, but the Cavs have laid an egg against a few teams since the trade.
The later game on NBC Peacock, the Sixers are in Denver against the Nuggets tonight. Nuggets, look at this, 16 tonight for the Nuggets, 236.5. No Embiid, no Maxey, no Oubre, no. Very long injury list for the Sixers tonight, Doug.
Yeah, I think this number's a little too high. I know the Sixers team stinks, and they just beat the Blazers outright as like an 8.5-point dog. And I know a really sharp NBA bettor who laid it with Portland. That was not wise. I think you play the under here if you had to play it, but I'd also lean to the dog. The Sixers team plays hard. They want to, they're all kind of fighting for contracts and all that stuff. And they think they have aspirations for the playoffs once Paul George comes back from his 25-game suspension, when Embiid's healthy. I don't necessarily see it, but you never know. And my boy Cam Payne, he's getting it done. He's a gunner. I'll give him that. So if you can get some of his props as well. So these are all things to consider, but I think it's too many points.
Any pain on the menu tonight, Doug? No pain on the menu?
Well, I'm not seeing it. Oh, yeah, I am. 9.5 minus 150. Oof. I think he's a gunner.
A little juicy there. Elsewhere, Pacers and the Knicks again, this time at the Garden tonight. Knicks 14.5, 2 tutties and a hook, 221 the total.
All right, so Jalen Brunson keeps getting downgraded. It looks like he's not going to go. They played last week, to your point, and it was no Towns in that game. It's a big number, but let me tell you, the Indiana Pacers, who have the league's worst record, okay, they are 4-0 against the spread against both the Knicks and Thunder. They beat the Thunder, too. So they only care about 2 opponents this year, the Knicks being one of them. It's a rival. They care. But the Pacers have – everyone's like questionable. It's crazy. And Siakam's out. I like first half plus the points. Give me Indy, first quarter, first half. I just think that's the way to play it. Now Rick Carlisle he's a wizard. We know that. But he's learned how to do tanking because he's never had to tank before, really. So he sits all his main guys in the fourth quarter. He lets the scrubs start the fourth quarter and just leaves them in. So I think there's line value in the first half. And if Zubac goes, the newly acquired Ivica Zubac, it's really this is such line value. So he's actually he's on a minutes count. So he's only playing in the first half. And then and then Potter comes in, next stop Potterville. So I would say there's extreme line value with the rotations and everything in the first half. So I would take the 8.5. Now, obviously the Knicks ceiling is good. They can blow them out, but we saw what they did in their first game home against the Warriors. I think they don't want to have the effort that it takes for this game. And they're a little disjointed. No Brunson either. I think this is a good bet. First half plus 8.5.
First half.
I'd even look first quarter, to be honest. First quarter, the Pacers can stink in a second quarter. So
Yes, they certainly can. Tonight at the Garden against the Knicks, who, of course, they've been in the mix with every time they've played this year. I don't think that we've had a spread reach 20 yet this year, Doug. I don't think so. So this might be the highest spread we've seen this year. The Pistons are 19.5-point favorites in D.C. against the Wizards tonight. 233 is the total.
There's a lot of dudes starting, not just playing, starting for the Wizards who I've never heard of. So early in the year when like Alex Sarr was out, they had Marvin Bagley. Well, he was traded. So I don't know who's starting at center because Sarr is out, Koulibaly's out, Trae Young's out. So it's going to be a lot of Champagny, the other one from the Spurs, right? His brother. And then I don't know. I don't know who Jameer Watkins is. Carrington should start. So Bub Carrington. I don't know who's starting at center. I think Angel Reese's brother, Julian Reese, is going to play. He got his debut. He had a double-double. I don't think a lot of rebounds though, but he played and got legit rebounds. So I don't know. It's just a monster game. Now the Pistons can blow you out. So I'm not in a rush to grab the points either, but it's probably a stay away, but maybe some in-game props if Reese, Julian Reese, that could be a fun. I think he's going to crash the boards here. All these guys are going to play hard for Washington. They're just not very good. But I like the team total under. I think the Pistons will, play a good enough defense. I mean, this offense for the Wiz is terrible.
Under 106.5. Wizards team total tonight against the Pistons. Late night, Spurs, second night of a back-to-back. They beat the Clippers, of course, last night. Now they're in Sacramento against the Kings. They're 13.5-point favorites, 236.
All right, so sadly, I've watched each of these teams' last two games. Last night, we had the team total, and the Clippers got a horrendous beat, but they did score 37 in the first half, and they only scored 20 or something like that in the second quarter. So first quarter, they scored 37 points last night, did the Clippers against the Spurs defense. Spurs just weren't ready to play. And off the win, I don't think they're going to be ready to play tonight. So I like the Kings, especially with DeMar DeRozan. There's a giant drop-off after the starting lineup with DeRozan and everything. He goes to the bench. Westbrook's also goes bananas when he goes against a former team. So there's something to keep in mind if he plays. I don't really locked in on like their status, but I guess he's expected to go. So I really like the Spurs plus 3.5. Sorry, the Kings plus 3.5 in the first quarter tonight. I really, really, really like it. I think the other thing I was noticing, Wemby's tired. He's obviously an alien, but if he just didn't quite have that complete coverage at the end of the game. So I actually think under 25.5 is a really good play. The problem is there's no size for Sacto, and he could just eat all night. So there's a little bit of a concern, but the whole team's going to eat. They could blow him out. Kings have won a couple in a row. I think you got to hold your nose and bet Wemby under.
I like that because this is the kind of night where they could be up 25 early in the third quarter, and maybe hopefully people are smart on the Spurs bench and they go, big fella's looking a little tired. This is a good night to shut him down. Let's let him set the rest of this one out.
And I think the Kings are going to try to run him. And look, they're not tanking. They've won games. Vivek Ranadive, their owners, courtside, celebrating wins, even though it's best interest to lose, but that's how the organization is run. So I think first quarter, I think they jump on him. The problem is there's such a talent gap, but Westbrook's going to come to play. You can also bet on his rebounds maybe in that game. So there's a lot of angles for this horrendous game at night.
Three other games we'll go through fast. Any interest in the Heat in Charlotte tonight? Hornets minus 5.5, 234.5.
It's a really good game because obviously both teams in that same division competing for it. But Bam Adebayo has been slowed down. I think he's downgraded. He might not play. Wiggins is already out, but the Heat are starting to get healthy. They had that 7-game win streak, lost at home to Orlando. That was Saturday. They've had a couple days off, so it's a good spot, I think, for the Heat. The Hornets obviously had running through some good teams on that road trip. I just think it's a good game. I think it's too many points. I like the Heat plus the 5.5, but Bam is such a difference maker. Yeah. So I'd lay off of it.
Thunder are 10-point road favorites in Orlando against the Magic tonight with a 223.
Feels high, but Orlando, they just got beat up in Atlanta, coming home. They pushed the pace, but OKC's tough, and McCain's obviously found money at the trade deadline. I'm in no rush to bet it, but I'd lean to the home dog here. But you're looking at you're hoping they lose by 7 or something, and it's such a narrow landing strip.
And finally, some bad news for the Timberwolves today as they get ready to take on the Suns tonight. They're 3.5-point favorites at home, 221.5, but they will not have Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I hate this team. I think they're just incredibly inconsistent. I would lean Suns here. This Timberwolves team's disjointed. They're inconsistent. And the Suns are like the exhibit A of cohesion. Now, they just played in Boston. Obviously, Jaylen Brown was awesome, and the Celtics were too much. I think they could win this game outright.
I'm with you. You know that. Anytime you get me in going after the Suns, especially in a spot like this, I got no problem with it. We starting to get into the Hawks to win the East, Doug? Do I see this? The Hawks to win the East? Why not?
10 straight wins, right? They pounded Orlando. They completely changed their identity, okay?
Okay.
And they have Quinn Snyder as a pretty good coach, right? They have two excellent defenders in Daniels and Johnson, okay? And with all these futures, just a reminder, especially with the brackets, you don't have to beat every team, okay? You just have to beat the ones in front of you. I've made worse bets in my life at 150 to 1 than the Hawks to win the East. Now, I think it's hilarious that the Raptors are 50 to 1. Like, I think those odds should absolutely be changed. I'd have the Hawks right now ahead of the Sixers. I do think they should be behind those other teams, though. I think Miami's probably a good bet at 40 to 1.
I think
they're getting healthy. They're getting healthy, and they have Spoelstra, and they've done it before, right? They made the finals as an 8 seed, if I'm not mistaken. And then all the other teams, like the Cavs and Pistons, have their warts. Knicks have their warts. Hornets, we'll see. I think Hawks at 150 to 1. It's pretty good.
I think that was interesting that the Hornets are like 4th or 5th in the East now, and they're still they're still in the last play-in spot, and yet they're 4th or 5th to win the East. But that speaks to how open it is.
I mean, I think the Celtics are the team to beat, I think they're stronger unit and better. Like last year they had Horford who was over the hill, they had Porzingis who didn't play, and they blew those 20-point leads. I think the Celtics are good, but they're not infallible.
Everyone loved that when you said, I hate this team.
Well, it's true.
The opposite electricians in.
I think Chris Finch hates his team too.
And he probably does. There you go. NBA for this evening. All right, pucks. Dougie Pucks tonight. We have got 9 games in the NHL for this evening. And a couple good ones. We got a doubleheader on TV on TNT. Minnesota is at Chicago in the first game of the doubleheader. Minnesota's actually lost 3 in a row, Doug, going into tonight.
Stunner that they lost to the Maple Leafs.
But guess what? There's a very good elixir coming tonight. They're playing the Blackhawks. They're playing the Blackhawks tonight. Now, I know I'm feeling myself with the puck line a little bit lately. I'm going to try to, reel it in a little bit, but I can't with this one. I think the Wild tonight in Chicago. I think it's plus 132 at Bet Rivers to lay the puck and a half. I would think big get right against one of the worst teams in hockey tonight for Minnesota.
Best bet material?
I don't think I could do the plus money puck line 2 nights in a row. I might be a little scared off of it.
Reminds me of when the Lightning had lost 4 straight and played the Leafs.
You know what?
4-1 after 1.
You know what? There's still time, Doug. It could.
How about first period minus a half?
First period minus a half. What do we got for that? What's the number there? And I'm getting.
You didn't expect me to know these things.
I know that. I know.
Why is Chicago winning a couple games? I mean, now they just got shut out 4-0 to Vegas, but why do they want to beat the Mammoth and stuff?
Yeah, I don't understand that. For some reason, that's the only team they've beaten in the last month. Right. 3 times they've beaten Utah and can't beat anybody else. It makes no sense at all.
It's like the Pacers. They're the Pacers being the
Pacers in the next, right? The later game on TNT is Tampa in Seattle against the Kraken. So we, of course, are going to be rooting against Tampa no matter what. So we
3-way line plus 138, by the way, for Minnesota on the
plus 138 3-way line first period for Minnesota tonight. I probably will get involved there a little bit. Tampa and Seattle, nothing here for me, Doug, except for rooting against Tampa, which is still tough to do.
Yeah, I mean, Kraken are tough at home.
Yes.
Lightning, they got off the schneid and then had a big win, had the brawl with Buffalo. It's going to be a tough spot in the schedule.
Very well could be. Elsewhere this evening, Islanders are in Toronto. I do like the Isles. This is a nice spot for them tonight against this bad Maple Leaf team. All the other teams around them won yesterday. Pittsburgh had a huge win in Colorado. Isles need to keep pace. Got Soroka tonight. This is a good spot for them here. Schaefer playing his first game in Toronto, which he's going to have like 1,000 people there for him. I think you get a little something special out of Schaefer tonight, too. So I like the Islanders tonight, Doug.
Okay. Now, they haven't been in great form, right?
They haven't been in great form. They did beat Calgary.
And we just talked about the Lightning, who had won 4 straight, but I'm sure people bet on them when they had lost 3 straight.
Right.
Any concern for these spots and things like that?
The Islanders the last couple of years have played well in Toronto. And I got a little, they had the 3-0 lead against Calgary on Saturday night, and then they won 3-2. They let go of the rope with the puck line, but still, I think against inferior teams, they've played very well. And this is one of those spots tonight for them on the road. It's juicy 141, but it's a good spot, I think, for the Isles. I have a green light go over for you. Oh, it went up too. Good thing we have the slider, because this morning it was 6.5, and I said, oh, that ain't going to last. Sharks and Oilers tonight in Edmonton. Now, the last couple times they played, it was 7. And when I saw the 6.5 this morning, I jumped on it. Now it's 7. It's plus 104 for that 7. So you can obviously still slider yourself down if you so choose, which would get you to 6.5 at minus 152. But this is always tee it high and let it fly.
So no Draisaitl. He's out.
Very true. Very true. But it's the Oilers and the Sharks. It's just, let's go. I like the Jets as well tonight, Daryl. I actually was looking in on the Jets. I put the Jets in the puck parlay tonight. They've actually played well in March. They've won 5 out of 7. They beat the Avalanche over the weekend at home. Nashville has really kind of packed it in. So, I like the Jets tonight as well. There at home against Nashville. And Buffalo's in Vegas, Doug. You going to go say hi to our team? They're in town tonight at the T-Mobile.
It's tempting. I ended up not going to the Air Force game. Boy, did I miss a doozy. I think they had 10 points at half.
Yeah, that's
final game. They did not make the NIT, unfortunately.
No, they did not. Buffalo Dogs tonight in Vegas, plus 102 for Buffalo this evening. So I'm good with
Knights off a big win.
Knights off a big win as well. Sabres, let's go. There you go, MT, for tonight. There you go. Pucks. Like the over in the Oilers, as we should, Daryl. Let's go. Let's get it this evening. Our late night over in the hockey. Champions League halftime. Nigel called a winner on the early game overs. Looking good late. Nigel, that's right. Champions League round of 16 today. The guys had you going this morning.
Way to jinx it.
Steve, they'll be coming for you. I'll tell Nigel that you did that if that doesn't go through. Sabres at plus money again. Will the books ever learn? We'll find out, John, tonight.
Too easy. It's too easy.
Too easy. All right. World Baseball Classic concludes tonight. I know you've had a lot of fun with this tournament, Doug, but it's over tonight. This is the last.
By the way, that
game.
was a strike. I did a deep dive.
This is the Sunday night DR USA.
That was a strike.
It was a strike.
It went across the plate.
But it doesn't matter because Soto told everybody that they won the game, that they were the better team. So
that's fine.
That's what matters, I guess.
He's the arbiter. Yeah.
Juan Soto and Nathan McKinnon. We'll put them together in the same room since they both, who the better team was. Tonight, the United States plays Venezuela in the championship game. Venezuela beat Italy last night. At Bet Rivers, the United States is minus 265 on the money line. Venezuela plus 205. We need Carver's dinger pick. Well, I've got news for you.
Did it hit?
The one the other night did not, but we're going back to we're going tonight, Doug. We have a dinger pick. Alex Bregman tonight. He is 9 for 27 with 3 homers, 2 doubles off of Eduardo Rodriguez. He sees him very well. Plus 390 for Bregman to homer. Obviously, Rodriguez will only probably be in there for 5 innings, 6 innings, whatever it is. But I'm going to get at least 2, maybe 3 at-bats with Bregman against him. And that'll be my Happy Meal home run dinger play tonight with Alex Bregman.
Okay.
Can't trust Judge in a big game, Doug. We know that. So I'm certainly not. Money on the table. We don't want to pick Judge tonight in the World Baseball.
Is he
Classic.
the James Harden of the Major League Baseball?
He's working his way into that conversation.
I don't think he is.
Around here, they compare him to Josh Allen. I mean, I would like Allen to make and lose a Super Bowl first before we could start doing all that. Although Harden hasn't made a net. Well, Harden has with Oklahoma City. He was in the NBA Finals, so we have to remember that. But when it's like his own team, he hasn't been to the finals. It's an interesting conversation, though, Doug. That's for sure. Will you watch any of this tonight?
No. I did Sunday. But there's too much going on tonight. There's too many. I only have 5 TVs and an iPad.
Will you watch more of this or the TGL Semifinals that will be going on as guys?
Well,
hit
if you have a banger like you did a few weeks ago, I would be watching the TGL. Otherwise,
I am actually going to play something in the TGL tonight. I'm taking the 2 favorites and I'm parlaying them together. Los Angeles Golf Club minus 137. That's because they just have the better players. Atlanta lost me. They won last year. Atlanta lost me when they put Billy Horschel in the lineup tonight. So that takes Atlanta off the page. So I'm going to put LA with Boston because how could you root against Boston and the Green on St. Patrick's Day and Rory and Adam Scott, of course, and Keegan Bradley on St. Patrick's Day. And Jupiter is not good. Tiger's not playing, of course. So I'm taking Boston and LA together at plus 173 as the TGL semifinal money line parlay tonight. But it won't be the best bet. Don't worry. It's not the best bet. But it is on the board. There you go, Doug. Even got the TGL in for us this evening. Let's go. Best bets, daily double, betting weekly live for tonight. You know what, Doug? I'm not scared. I went with it last night. I was probably feeling myself a little too much off of Cam Young winning on Sunday, and I took Dallas on the puck line, something I usually don't do here for the best bet. I'm going to go back to the well and try to get it back tonight. Minnesota, puck line, minus 1.5 at Chicago against the Blackhawks. I think you said it perfectly. It kind of feels like when Tampa went into Toronto a couple Saturdays ago on a 4-game losing streak. Wild have lost 3 in a row. Awful Blackhawk team. We'll lay the puck in a half. I'm sure we're going to end up sweating some empty netter in the last 2 or 3 minutes. But you know what? I'm going to go right back to the well. Plus 132 Wild puck line.
All right. I like it. I think it's going to rock and chair. I'm calling it now.
Let's go.
I was very close to taking the Pacers first half. I just don't know who's playing tonight. Like, that's a problem, right?
Yes.
Like, I need Neesmith to play. I mean, he's been awesome lately. So I'm going to go Wemby under 25.5 points. I mean, what could go wrong? A late night game involving the Spurs. What could go wrong? Last night burned me. Let's go back to the well. I'm fading Wemby. That's always smart, considering last time I checked, the Kings don't have anyone 7'4" to guard him. So it could be just feasting. But I think Wemby's there's gonna be a lot of open players. Kings feeling themselves off a couple wins. This should be a blowout. And I honestly think he's tired. I really do. I think he's hit a little bit of a wall. I think maybe monitor his minutes a little bit. 21 points, 19 points, still a good game. Get a lot of rebounds and blocks, and we win our bet.
Let's go. Victor Wembanyama under 25.5 points. Minnesota Wild puck line, minus 1.5 in Chicago against the Blackhawks, plus 336 tonight at Bet Rivers. A St. Patty's daily double up in the 330s for us tonight. Let's go, baby. I want this, Doug. I want to bounce back after the Stars last night. It really bothered me that they no-showed that game, and Smith played goal like me in a 6th grade roller hockey team that I was on. Like USA 1.5 in the under. Daryl, it does seem like these USA games have been to the underside of things. Did Air Force make the CBI? DeFars asked. I guess that's not that's not impossible considering they let everyone in the CBI. Soto, just 1 year as a Met, already has that Mets delusion. I'm on Acuna tonight. It's always the day after you pick them that they go. Acuna could go tonight. They got that McLean going for the USA tonight, putting the golf with the golf.
Oh, yes, I love that guy. That Mets youngster.
Yes, McLean going there. St. Patrick's Day is wearing of the green and making tons of green. Let's go. Thank you, everybody, for hanging today in the chat box. Great job today, Doug, by Chris Macero, who was with us, gave us all of his picks for the tournament. We are back tomorrow And we will start going through a lot of the games. I'm guessing, Doug, on a Wednesday, we're going to have to go through the early Thursday games.
Thursday,
right? For the NCAA. The CBI is canceled. We didn't
Is
even
it
know
really?
that the CBI,
Who knew?
I did hear that the CBI is canceled. All the mid-majors are playing in the NIT, Doug. There's no room for them in the. There's none left for the CBI. They're all been taken.
But make it the Air Force Invitational. Come on.
Yes. Wild and Wembanyama Daily Double tonight. Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian, Betting Weekly Live, of course, Betting Weekly Studio. Subscribe on YouTube. Bet Rivers Network. We'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. East, 1 p.m. Pacific. Enjoy all the games tonight, and we will see you then.